After waiting 3 weeks, the electrical company is finally rolling in here. Pretty excited to see that. Hopefully we have power by either today or tomorrow. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a really fun night for us, or it's been a really fun day because we got our first steps of actually getting the power run out to our place. The power company is out here for most of the day today. They set this transformer and they pulled the primary wire, so it's just the high voltage wire, all the way back to the power poles. And then they ran low voltage, so standard voltage down and up to our meter base, and we are getting really close. They're going to have to come tomorrow, hook it up on the power pole, and then hook up into the meter socket, get that all set up. Then we're energized, so no more being off grid completely out here. We still have most of the property which will be off grid, but at least our shop and our bus will be on grid for the most part. So because we have power coming basically tomorrow, hopefully, unless bad weather happens and they can't come out because they're doing repair work. But basically tomorrow we'll have power, and right now the only source of or way to draw that power is one 20 amp outlet set up on the meter panel. So we need to start remedying that. So here you can see the wires that are going to go and feed the meter socket, and that will fit right here, and that's what tells the power company how much to charge you for how much power we've drawn. So coming out of the meter socket, the power is split evenly to two 200 amp basically feeders, and one of those feeders runs a 200 amp panel right here on the meter board here, and the other one is set up so you can just put another breaker in, another 200 amp breaker, and then run to another building. So that's going to be for our future house. I don't want to touch this because it's the most simple and elegant and clean way to tie into this panel here. To feed our shop, which you can see right over there, what we're going to do is add another 200 amp breaker, but this one clips into the spaces that you normally hook a normal like 20 amp breaker into, but it takes up 4 slots, so it basically grabs 50 amps on each leg, kind of, sort of. That's why it needs to have this many slots. And I end up clipping that right into the panel, like that, and that will feed our shop. So you may think it's strange to put a 200 amp breaker on a 200 amp panel, but you can technically do that. You could fill this whole thing up with breakers and it's still up to code, because basically what ends up happening is if you draw too much power, if you don't manage it well, it'll just trip the main, which is just how it's designed to go, or what it's designed to do. So that, so basically, long story short, you can put as many breakers as you want. We're going to put the 200 amp in here. It'll feed another 200 amp panel in the shop. And from there, we'll split it off into a couple other circuits, and we'll do the whole shop off that panel. Out here, we're going to use this panel to feed things like RV hookups. If we have an irrigation pump or like anything that I don't really want to tie into the shop breaker panel, I can just tie in here. And then of course when we do the house, we'll be able to just tie in right up here. So it's a pretty nice setup. I tried to plan ahead. Once you do this, it's really hard to change anything. Basically, once you have the meter and it all set up like this, it's a real expensive thing to do because the power company has to come out, because they handle all of this and this side of the panel, and you actually can't open this side up because of course you could tap lines in before your meter and then not get charged for it. So they lock that side up. And oh, I forgot to mention, we decided to go with a 400 amp service for this property. We figured because we're going to be running a shop and then technically a second shop eventually, hopefully in the future, and the house and RV hookups and all that, we're going to be pushing it for a 200 amp service. So we got ourselves set up with, I think, a 25 kVA transformer, which is a little bit bigger. I think normally you do a 10 for a house for a 200 amp service. So we have that set up. That's why this is also a 400 amp panel with the two 200 amp services. So So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to hook up this 200 amp breaker. We're going to have to run conduit down from the panel over to the shop, through the wall in the shop, and then we'll be tying in and installing our panel there. I don't quite have all of the stuff I need for getting the panel grounded correctly for the sub panel, so we'll have to get some more stuff for that. But yeah, we are going to do that tonight. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. My only hole saw that I could find is the exact diameter of our fitting here. So there we go. So that's what that will look like. We'll have our conduit coming right through the bottom here. So now I know where my trench is going to go. So let's get the trench done. We'll get the primary wire up into this box and yeah, and through the wall. And then we'll do this stuff on the inside. So we have part of the trench done. It's just under 3 foot, but that'll work for what we're doing here. I got the backhoe tucked in as close as I could to the meter pad, or as close as I felt I could get. I might be able to dump some dirt here, but I'll probably have to dump it over on this side. But yeah, going well. I'll have to dig some of this out by hand. My bucket can't curl back far enough to clean up right alongside the building. But we don't need to be super cleaned up like along the building, because this has a radius to it. So I just need to clean up just enough to get that radius in up against the building. So yeah, so that's handwork. We'll get as close as we can with the backhoe, and then that'll also be handwork. So the weather here has been pretty crazy. There's some major wildfires near us, and it is so smoky and hazy that you can't even see across our valley hardly. Normally you can see probably 10 or 15 miles straight up the valley there, but yeah, hopefully we get some rain. It's been super dry here. I think we've had one rainstorm all summer since like the start of June. So it's bone dry out here right now. Okay, this side requires a lot more digging, but this dirt has all been dug up at least once before I put the meter panel in place. So I didn't film any of this process here, so I was doing it with a family member in a rush, trying to get this panel installed. So I can get it inspected so I get the power to come in. But that was about a month ago, and yeah, we got it inspected. It passed first time, but the inspector forgot, or I didn't schedule it correctly, so it took an extra week to get the schedule figured out for the inspector. So lost a week there, and then it took 2 weeks for the power company to come out. They brought their excavator out and a pole, and then they got called away because of a big storm with trees that knocked everything down. So then they're gone for about another week. So it's been about 4 weeks since this panel's been installed to now when they're actually coming to pull the wire. So it's been quite an ordeal. We've had to run the generator to do AC the past 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. So not ideal, but we made do. Okay, we have the trench done. I have it cutting right through here. It's a very tight bend, but to get around that fact, what I'm going to do is we're going to string our wire through the conduit as we're building it, and we'll build it up outside. Then we'll put the conduit in the trench after we get it done. So I'm going to test fit the conduit together to see how many sticks I need, and we'll get that all basically dry fit. Then we'll pull it all apart, string our wire on everything, and then we'll glue it together. So we're going to run our wire through just the straight section first, getting it about close to what I'm going to need on both ends, and then we'll put the radiuses on after we do that. So yeah, because I think it's 4/0, 4/0, 2/0. I know it's actually 4/0, 4/0, 4/0, 2/0. So it's a little overkill. I think my ground could have been smaller, that 2/0. And then my neutral could have been smaller and also been just a 2/0. So anyhow, you live and you learn. So let's get this glued up. Okay. So I probably should have primed this bell here first, but I'll be able to get the primer into it. Oh no. That's a bummer. I broke off the cap, so I think this would just sink to the bottom now and get lost. Now I need to remember to really get the sweep going the right direction. Maybe it would help if I flipped my wire over. So that's more or less going to be parallel to the other sweep now. Oh shoot. This one needed a coupling here, so I have to pull the sweep off and put it back on again. Put that coupling on. Okay, we're just gonna glue the coupling on before we even slide it back over. It's amazing how much quicker it gets dark when there's a whole bunch of smoke in the air. That's something we never really got when we were back in South Dakota. Okay, we're going to get the conduit into the trench now. Should let you guys know that I am not a registered electrician. I've grown up helping my dad, who was a jack of all trades, do a lot of wiring. So I'm familiar with a lot of the processes and all that. I always check the code book or reference, just Google your question. A lot of times people way more knowledgeable than you or I will tell you what's going on and what you need to do to stay to code. This is what I'm doing. This is not a how-to. So yeah, let's get this wire brought into the box. So the first thing we're gonna do here is do our knockout here. And that'll allow us to feed all the wires up. And then we have to put a threaded insert that goes up into the box. And then you have to put a nut on the inside and tighten that up so the conduit can't separate from your box. So every box will have knockouts pre-made. You just have to break them out of there. And then you can insert your pipe up into the box. So if I'm putting a coupling on like this, I always hold it with the coupling end that I haven't connected yet up. That way when you squeeze the glue out, it doesn't run down your side you still need to connect up. So I've always been taught to be sloppy with my primer and make sure I get it past my coupling. That way if you get an inspection done, they can physically see that you've had it primed. And you always want to use like the purple primer or something that's obvious so that yeah, you don't get any grief during the inspection. Don't know if that's 100% the right thing to do, but that's what I've always been taught. I'm being super careful not to cut the insulation on the raw edge of the box, or at least try not to. And from my experience, the inspector wants to see that this nut is tight. Okay. We're going to wrestle at the other end now, and then I'm actually going to pull some of this back. I only need to go up to this breaker here. That's the furthest I have to go. So we can pull back a good probably 14 or 18 inches. And then before we backfill, I'll make sure this is nice and straight and true. We'll fight this and make sure it looks good. Okay, this end is probably going to be even more challenging. We're going to be fighting a couple things here. Biggest one of those is this box, because the wire has to make a right angle within this box. And that's no easy task. So yeah, I'll probably want to get the other box glued in on the other side before I force this wire through. Okay, the exterior conduit is all installed. I think I can live with how it looks. This one's fairly nice and straight. This one here, because of this bend, it has a little bit of a bow outward, and it's not perfectly up and down. But I think I can live with it, because yeah, it basically has to be just good enough that I can look at it for the rest of my life and not feel like I needed to do a better job. So I think this trench is ready to be backfilled. We're going to hand backfill both ends, get it stomped in. If you're doing conduit, you want to make sure you take a picture of where it goes with some landmarks, like with the meter socket and the building in the picture, so you know where the picture was taken from. So in 20 years, you know exactly where you put the line in. We'll keep backfilling. I don't know how dark it's going to get. I don't know if it's going to be too dark for the camera, but yeah, we'll get this backfilled tonight because I think it's supposed to rain tonight. So let's get started. Okay, we got the hand backfilling done. Let's do it the easy way and use the backhoe for the rest. So I don't know how much of this you guys are actually going to be able to see very well, but we're going to keep trucking along here. I want to get this all buttoned back up tonight, so when they come tomorrow, they can energize the rest of the panel without worrying about this. Of course, there's no take-backs when you start cutting this wire either. Okay, it's starting to rain too much for me to keep the camera out here tonight. We need the rain, but it's a bummer for you guys, I guess. I'm gonna get these wires cut and installed on the correct lugs for tonight. That way when the power company comes, it all looks kosher when they arrive. And then yeah, we'll have to unhook them again and then tone out the wires, basically figure out which ones are which for the neutral. That way yeah, we wire it up correctly on the other end. So I will see you all tomorrow.
0, 0, 0, 0. That means we have electricity!